Hello, everybody. That's better. Checking if everything's all right. Be a little noisier today because the air conditioning is working. It's a little warmer today, so let's stay cool and inside a little more. Um, this HF Underground Pirate look. Maybe Priam. New number of stations coming up. A few things we'll check out. Okay, that's good here. There's a live chat here. Da-da-da-da-da-dum. And here we go. So, welcome aboard, everybody. This is the live shortwave show. We are here twice a week from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. My name is Gilles, northeast part of North America. And I am here on Wednesday, North America, Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 0 hours Universal Time, which is Thursday for most people around the world. And we're here on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 20 hours Universal Time. And we have fun talking about radio, sharing about radio, and all sorts of radio stuff that we want to talk about. There's a chat room if you want to join in with wonderful people that are great. I think this is one of the best shortwave groups that I know. People are polite, fun, they answer questions, they interact. There's a lot of really, really cool people that are here and help out. This is the place for both the experienced radio listener, amateur radio operator, to the beginner that needs help, and we're here for that, and we're here to help out, try to answer questions. Sometimes a little difficult, a little technical, and it's a little tough to help out, but we do our best with what we have, and plus we have the videos on the channel. And there is a Facebook group. Once this show is over, you can join the Facebook group and be with other people. That's a pretty active group. Lots of fun to see the activity there. So why not check it out? And very, very nice to be here with everybody. We're just going to do a little cheers here. I got my Saturday vodka cranberry. Cheers, everyone. And we will talk about a few things, including I'll have a question for you guys, and you have to answer through the email. Email is the only way you can answer. And one lucky winner will have this Paul the Cat mug. So a little dark on Paul here, but still. Paul the Cat, official shortwave radio, and shortwave radio forever. So somebody will win this. Somebody will win this. So we'll have the question in a few minutes. I'll post the email where you actually have to answer the question. And the big winner will be announced next week, as I'll keep the emails, make the little papers, and choose next week in a little drawing that I'll have. So also, I will give a chance to anybody that is not live but will see the live show through the week to also participate and send an email with that same answer to the question. So we'll maybe add people through the week for that drawing, and one lucky winner will get a Paul the Cat mug from the official shortwave station. Okay. Chat room. Matt, nice to have you here from Denver, Colorado. Temperature is not far from here. It's actually gone down a little bit. Now it's 26 Celsius, but we got close to 28, 29. 29 today. Pretty hot. We've been having actually here is it's interesting. In the past few years, um, we've been having a, uh, a a September that is kind of an extension of summer. It used to be that September was like, well, that's the month where fall is, starting and it's getting really cool. But in the last few years, September has been almost as hot as August. So we've got almost kind of an extra month of summer. And we even have some warm weather that I was looking at the extended forecast, and I mean, it's going to be quite warm for the next few weeks. So, you know, kind of nice because here when winter sets in, winter really sets in. Can tell you that. Glenn, nice to have you on board from Milwaukee, KB9IN. Richard Wagner, nice to have you here, and hope that you have your medication for your migraines. Arthur's Autocrafters Kitchen, nice to have you on board from Massachusetts. David's Radio Room, nice to have you on board. Skipwave DX from the Catskill Mountains of New York State. Robert Cross, nice to have you on board. And last Saturday there was no show, so you didn't miss anything because last Saturday there was exceptionally no show. So you chose your mountain climbing time perfectly. Master Players Radio and Television Plus Gaming, nice to have you here. Bobby, WA5107SWL, Morgan City, Louisiana. And so have fun at your festival. RJDA Dakota, nice to have you here from Winsville, Missouri. We have Gary 24 Fan, nice to have you on board from Fort Fairfield, Maine. It's Labor Day weekend here in North America, so there should be a lot of pirates this weekend. Tune around the pirate bands. Robert Cross, you do have to have your radio set up. Pete N1 VAK, nice to have you on board from Greenville, North Carolina. 3 miles away from one of the VOA sites, Huge Antenna Farm. Cool. This will be a lot of fun to check that out. DJW883, nice to have you here from Southeast Pennsylvania. Serge from Switzerland, nice to have you on board. And no problem with that. There are other things in life than having to attend my live show. Life has so many things to offer. David in Barcelona, ¿cómo está mi amigo? EA3 IEKWEA 4998 URE in Barcelona, Spain. We have Dwayne, nice to have you here from Northeast Tennessee. PLF Radio, bonjour. J'espère que ça va bien depuis Lyon en France et que les choses se replacent après un été chaud et complexe dans ton coin du monde. Nice to have you here. Michael, nice to have you on board from Northern New Jersey. TB Ostrowski, nice to have you here. Glenn Zeckman, nice to have you here from Ohio. TB's from Medicine Hat, Alberta. Chuck, nice to have you here from South Texas, N5 KVO. Dwight from Jamaica, Virginia, WA4532SWL. We have Samuel Peterson from Las Cruces, New Mexico. Robert Osborne, nice to have you on board from Niagara Falls. Been there in 2008. Still have great memories. Tarek, nice to have you here from Cairo, Egypt. Shortwave Radio Passion, nice to have you here. Jet Crafter from Southern Maine. René Charbonnier from the Netherlands, nice to have you here. Hey, Andre, Cool AM Radio, nice to have you on board. 000 KD2ANN from New Jersey. We have Catalan. Nice to have you here from Germany. From 1 a.m. The street lights are getting turned off here to save energy. Oh, really? Wow, that's interesting. So this is that something new that has been kind of voted officially now that that's going to be going forward a new thing, or is it related to the Ukraine Russia war thing because of maybe the famous gas coming from Russia? Spacebar, nice to have you on board. Gordon Series, nice to have you on board. Kevin, nice to have you here. WS2H from the Jersey Shore. Got the Texan PL330 and the S2000. Fired up, enjoying the end of summer with some wine and shortwave. I'm going fine. Going fine. It's going to be a complicated week as my friend is officially getting his operation on Tuesday. So I will have a very busy Tuesday. We have to be at the hospital for 6 a.m., which means I'm going to have to get up at 4 a.m. and leave here at 5 a.m. It's going to be a hell of a day. And Doug Smith, nice to have you here. Prince WX, nice to have you here. Mita Lunar, nice to have you on board. What's new in the bands lately? Got any more interesting FMDXing finds? I had an interesting moment. So of course, I've been watching the FM band a little more since I had that FM station in, what was it, July, that I got that station from Florida on 96.5. So what happened is I been checking regularly, but something funny happened this week. So you guys know I like to listen to the public radio, Vermont Public Radio, um, on 107.9 out of Burlington, Vermont. So the that station comes in usually very well here, and I actually am able to even log to the HD channel and listen to the BBC stream with my HD radio. And the interesting thing that happened on, was it Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday. Tuesday night, I was tuning 107.9, and for a brief moment of about 10 seconds, the station was overwhelmed by a station in Spanish language. It lasted 10 seconds, and then WVPS came back. It obviously was kind of a switch of a very powerful Spanish broadcast. Then it faded out, and I scanned the bands a little bit after that, thinking maybe an opening was there. I've not had any openings of any kind, so it seems that it was really, really just some, I don't know what happened. Some Spanish stations just broke through. So, and it has to be powerful because on 107.9 FM, that station is really, really strong. So the station, to overpower it, must be really strong. So I was thinking, I try to find, but it's difficult to find what could be in Spanish on 107.9. It can be local here, and it was, probably from the U.S. because there's a lot of Spanish language stations there. And I thought of a few things. I thought either some, temperature inversion, tropospheric ducting type thing that could have maybe happened just strong enough to overpower. But since it was very brief, and usually triple ducting lasts, minutes, if not hours sometimes. The other thing that I thought of was, could it have been some kind of meteor scatter? Did a meteor enter the atmosphere and for a brief moment of 10 seconds, that station was able to bounce off the ionosphere from that trail enough for me to hear something in Spanish, but no ID. And of course, one of the things that you look at is the radio's RDS. Even if it's just 10 seconds, if it was strong enough, the RDS sometimes still can lock on and tell you what you are. But in this case, it didn't. So I am in mystery of what could I have been listening on 107.9 for, um, you know, for that brief moment in Spanish. I probably might never know, actually. So it's going to be interesting to see. But it was very mysterious, It just kind of lights up your listening experience for a moment. It's like, oh, maybe something's happening. Maybe I'm going to have some more, FMDX or something. Cheers 000. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. Michael, 45 unit. Nice to have you on board in Southeast Connecticut. Pilaf Radio, I did a great Ethon 750 review. We have Tarek, yay, Paul the Cat Mug. Cheers, Matt. Cheers, everybody. So what else do we have? Going down. Anthony Friends, nice to have you here from Port Richey, Florida. Off license, nice to have you on board. Yeah, they weren't able to launch a rocket again today. Sad. Pierre Fredo, wow, great official shortwave goodies. Samuel Peterson. I'd like to buy one. I like the channel, radios and animals. Look, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm not sure I want to have some to sell. Right now, I've got 3, and 2 of them are already. One will be given on this channel. One is given to a friend. The third one I'm going to keep. I don't know. I'm one thing for sure is if I do a next batch, a different design, because I want to have Paul the Cat really beautiful on the mug. So let me think about it. I'm not sure yet, especially because the mugs, unless I buy a bigger quantity, the mugs are kind of expensive. It comes out to like $22 a mug, including shipping. So that's kind of an expensive mug. And I don't know. I know some of you guys told me that you'd like to buy one and so on. Let me think about it. Let me see what I'm going to do with that. I'm not sure yet what's going to happen with that. For now, it's just a fun little experiment I just wanted to try. WF7 Homebrew, nice to have you here, Bert, from rural Virginia. Thank you, Joe, for an interesting and comprehensive review of the Elite 750. Yeah. That one, what's sad about the Elite 750 is that they could have fixed it over the years, but you see that there was never a intention to do anything about it. And they hope that the people continue buying it on mostly its looks and how it looks cool, and for people that want to buy a radio, will get that radio and say, oh, well, that must be a good radio, and it's been sold for so many years, must be a good one. It's kind of sad because I feel it's kind of a Texan / Ethon letdown, basically. Kind of explains also why we are now here complaining so much about the Ethon company and what they've been doing lately, all the crap, which is sad. They could have given themselves a really good name on the shortwave hobby, but it's not looking good. Beam Sea Bike, nice to have you on board from Switzerland. You did pass your test and have now my first license. Cool. Welcome aboard, my friend. Hotel Bravo 3, X-Ray Bravo Lima. Nice to have you here. Welcome aboard the Amateur Bands. Timothy Exter, bonjour. Ça va bien? J'espère que tu vas bien toi aussi. John, K7 XRT from Tucson, Arizona. We have... Kevin, he was known as DX the Cat for a while. Until I learned of his real name. The first moments of presence of Paul was really DX the Cat, which was a cool name, actually. Matt says temperature in Denver is now 89.4. Looking at odd weather for the time being here, too. But in the mountains, it's better, and they're predicting beautiful aspen colors this fall. Cool. Rick, nice to have you here from Milwaukee. Wow, 37 Celsius in Southeast Alberta. Too hot for me. James, WRQX585. Nice to have you here from Prospect, Connecticut. And just set up is Ethan Field ready to go. Thomas Kitts, nice to have you here from Upper Michigan. Goldfinger, nice to have you here. Olivia, Minnesota, I would guess. We have RGA Dakota. Yep, there are a lot of power stations. I found at least 3 last night, including WTF and Ball Smacker Radio. Paul in Vermont, nice to have you here. AA1SU. Donald Hosmer, W8SWL in Northern Michigan. Mr. C's Garage, good afternoon. Nice to have you here. Mike Jam, nice to have you here. Khalid Wave, nice to have you here from Riyadh. Robert Cross, bought 2 more radios recently, 1957 and 62 radios. I got both working, need recapping. Cool. Thanks for all the best wishes to my friend. Michael sitting in the backyard with his Ethan 750 Elite with very wide filter. Adolf Manson, nice to have you here. So yeah, 107.9 Matt was the frequency for the station that came through for a few seconds. Battery to DXer, the signal on 107.9 may have been meter scatter. Yeah, that's what I was thinking that was possible. Richard Wagner, I'm here for now 90 minutes waiting to get refilled. Cool. Yeah, airplane scatter is possible because definitely there's some changes when a plane passes by. But usually it mostly enhances what I was listening to. Does not necessarily bring out a new station, but who knows? Where I would say maybe it could not be a plane scatter is the plane scatter kind of comes in kind of waves. The way that it does it, it kind of waves in and out when it does it up to a peak and then goes back down. That one was like, poop, it popped up, it was there, it was strong, poop, disappeared, bye, never heard again. So, WSI Homebrew, yeah, was going to suggest meteor scatter. So, it's possible. Totally possible. Moon Vision, what's the best switchable device gadget to split my MLE30 into 2 receivers at the same time? Well, there are different solutions. Mine is expensive. Mine is a Streetsburg multi-coupler, which is a very expensive one. They have cheaper versions that are not. Mine is active. They have cheaper versions which are passive. Streetsburg's engineering. But I know maybe some others here could suggest others that could be, just as good and maybe not as expensive. But the one I'm here using is pretty good, I got to say. PLF Radio E-Skip usually it lasts longer than 10 seconds. It also will often, fade in and fade out. And E-skip doesn't often go way up to 107.9. It often is much more in the lower 88, 89, 90 megahertz range, although it's not impossible that it could reach 107. So I don't know. VHF ducting is a possibility, but the problem with VHF ducting is the fact that it usually ducting doesn't last just 10 seconds. It's something that'll last, for several minutes at least. And even if there's no meteor shower space bar, you guys know that there is still at least roughly visible in the sky about 10 meteors per hour at any time of year. So there's always kind of a minimum of meteors that strike the atmosphere. So it could happen outside of a meteor shower also. Jason, V9 JMC, probably someone drove by with a small FM transmitter in their car. That, I didn't think of that. Could it be that? I suppose it could. I got to accept that it's possible. I got to accept that as a possibility. If he was passing, say, in front of the house here, could he overpower 107.9? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It did sound like a station. For that 10 seconds, it sounded like a radio station in Spanish. So if it was an FM transmitter car, they would have some kind of Spanish broadcast over it. I don't know. I am more open to a possible meteor scatter or something like that did bring me a faraway station than an FM transmitter in a car passing by. But yeah, I suppose it's possible. David says, by what you described, I think you likely caught a station out of a strong meteor scatter reflection. Sounds very much like it, at least. Oh yeah, it was really, it just moved in real quick. It was real strong, local, like a local station. There was no distortion on it. There was a perfect listening on it for about 10 seconds. And then it just dropped off as fast as it appeared in 8 to 10 seconds. So kind of interesting. Paul in North Carolina, N4CE, nice to have you here. Kimberly, yeah, I know. In California, you guys are going crazy with the heat and the fires. It's completely nuts. Chris, G7VEO, how do I get a Paul the Cat mug? Let me think about what we could do. I don't know yet. Kevin Murray, nice to have you here from windy Wyoming. Hope you're having a great day. KK7HGD. Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Glenn says, I wish I'd have a dime for each thing I've heard on shortwave radio that seems to have come from the Twilight Zone. It'd be rich. You would be rich, especially in the older days. Neil, nice to have you here from Cambridge, UK. Laura Robertson, nice to have you on board from Italy, KO4DFJ. What else do we have? Robert Cross, any more reviews on improvement on Ethan's satellite HD radio? It's very, very quiet. It seems that nobody's really hearing much or having much news right now. So we're going to see what happens. We're really going to see what happens. TFB Taloha Fishing. Nice to have you on board. West Coast anniversary getaway, but brought my PL 880 and a Yaesu HD. So still geeking and watching the show. Did some meteor scanner in my odd years ago. So cool. Charles Williams, nice to have you here from San Diego. Garden Series received a mint-like out-of-the-box CNGN ATS 818. Suburb Flyer 1, nice to have you here from the UK. 0-100 remembers airplane flutter and analog UHF. Yeah, well, I remember that also because the when I was listening to my cartoons when I was like 8 or 9, and I'd play with the rabbit eaters to get the U.S. stations. I'd get WPTZ Channel 5 from Plattsburgh, Vermont. Plattsburgh, New York, sorry. And I'd get what I would get. I would get WCBS. I think that one was out of Burlington. And on Channel 3. And I'd watch the Saturday morning cartoons. And when the planes would pass by, the picture would come real clear sometimes with in kind of waves and flutter. It's kind of cool though. Dwight, there's a Spanish FM station in Washington, D.C. on 107.9. So maybe that's what got over 107.9. Matt says, I often hear other people's music coming from their cars on my radio when I'm driving around, but I'm always tuned to stations at the other end of the FM dial. Not sure what causes it. Yeah. Because a lot of people are using those things, but on very low frequencies. But I don't know. Mike Jam, is there any difference or benefit to connecting a long wire to the side antenna jack versus just clipping onto the telescopic? Well, technically, the antenna jack is made for a external antenna, so it will have a better matching impedance. Maybe sometimes it will also disconnect the telescopic, which will prevent some of the noise that could be picked up by the telescopic. But honestly, I've done both. And sometimes when I don't have the connectors because of some reason, or I'm in the kitchen and I would need to come and get some cables here and stuff, I often will clip it with an alligator clip or whatever. And for the most part, they all work fine. Maybe the difference on the telescopic also is because sometimes there's a little bypass circuit. It might overload less on the connector than on the telescopic directly, stuff like that. Also, there's always a risk on the telescopic if it's an outdoor antenna that it could be, you could zap the telescopic circuit, the RF amp or stuff like that. But overall, I've never seriously tested it, so I can't say if there is better or not reception on one or the other. I've been doing both sometimes on the radios, and I can't say that I've seen a difference. It just works. Francis Moore, nice to have you here. So like I said, the audio quality was really, really clear. Well, a Bluetooth device that connects through the radio, Bluetooth is on different frequencies. So it's not a Bluetooth device. Can be. It has to be one of those FM transmitters if it is from a car. Davis Radio Room on 107.9, Meteor Scatter, yeah. Kimberly loves Meteor Scanner. So I don't know. Technically, there would be. I would understand. Well, I would and I wouldn't. You know, because usually when you use an FM transmitter, what you want to do is use the FM transmitter on a frequency where you really don't hear anything. I would I would think that an FM transmitter um, here in Montreal would not be used on 107.9 because your car radio would probably pick up WVPS. But then again, I don't know. I don't know. Moon vision. What you saw in your SDR waterfall is actually something called a ionosound. It's nothing has nothing to do with meteor. What it is a it's basically a radar that sweeps the frequency ranges to check the maximum usable frequencies and check propagation conditions of the ionosphere. You see them regularly. So that has nothing to do with meteor scatter. It's really ionosounds, which is a type of radar, and those sweeps are there all the time. If you have an SDR, you'll see them regularly. Sometimes you'll see several come through on a 5 or 10 or 15 minute sequence, and you'll see maybe 5, 6, or 7 of them that are going to start and going to sweep through, and then you're not going to see any more for a while. What do we have? PLF radio, just for me to know, there are no local stations around 107.9 FM in Montreal. I know you said the station is not local. I just mean you can FMDX. In my location, I can't. FM band is full. Here we have a few little spots because technically the band in Montreal is pretty full. I think if there's one frequency left in Montreal itself, and there was talk about a station wanting to use it, they would go on 107.9. And that would be for me a big, big, big problem because they would be blocking my 107.9 from Burlington, Vermont. I know that Canada and the US has agreements like on the medium wave band for respecting power and antenna patterns so that not to interfere with each other on certain frequencies in medium wave. I don't know about the FM band. If there's such agreements here in Montreal from the border from Burlington, we hear quite a few stations from across the border. 92.9. We hear 92.9. We hear. There's a few of them. 92 point. Is it 9? Yeah, I think it's 9. There's another one on 99.9 that comes out of the US. There's, of course, WVPS on 107.9. So I don't know if intentionally they aren't used for anything. Well, 92.9, there's a station on 92.5 in Montreal. And where you have a station on 93.3 or something. So there's not a lot of spots anyways. And you have to have a really darn good radio to be able to hear in the little spots that are empty in between stations. But Montreal's band is pretty full. And there's last year or a year before, there was a station that actually asked to use 107.9. I really do hope that no stations ever use 107.9. So, because I'm going to lose my favorite FM station pretty much, which is the public radio from Vermont. To give you guys an idea of my FM radio listening, I tune in WVPS Vermont, Burlington, Vermont, public radio, and with HD radio, get the BBC stream from there also. But I listen to pretty much nothing else on the FM band in Montreal. I'm not interested in Montreal radio in general. It's just a boring. It's a boring band. Um, and the only thing I will listen to except that would be 90.3 FM CKUT, just to see if the International Radio Report Show is playing as expected on the Sunday morning. But and I'd be interested in some DXing. So there's a few little spots that FMDX is possible, but it's pretty crowded here. And they're all not that far because almost every FM station in Montreal are on the tower and on the Mont Royal here, which is, we have a mountain. So the city of Montreal is an island. We're surrounded by rivers. So we have the St. Lawrence River on the south, and we have the Prairie River on the north side. And so the only way to come to Montreal, you have to cross either a bridge or a tunnel. No, there's no other way. Or by plane, and or boat. And in the center of Montreal, roughly, we have a small mountain, which is Mount Royal. And the CBC has its transmitting tower over there. It's a huge tower on the mountain. And actually, one thing that I wanted to do one day is to go and take a walk, make a couple of videos, and talk about it a little more on the channel. I just have to find some time to do it. It would be kind of fun. Probably you guys would enjoy seeing the transmission tower. And pretty much every TV and pretty much every FM radio station in Montreal broadcasts from that tower. And actually, they pay depending on how high they are on the tower. The higher you are on the tower, the higher the fee to be on the tower. So I don't know how much money the CBC makes with that, but they must make a lot of money with that. So it's pretty impressive. Sheldon Harvey's been there, and he says that it's very impressive. The transmission room has a lead ceiling to prevent radiation and prevent all sorts of things. Pretty crazy stuff. So but it's I the only thing that I will do is the only thing that I will do in general is really just tune for either DX that I could hear or something, or WGBS station. Bruce Gobert, N9BH, back before PL was common on 2 meters. It was a hoot when ducting occurred. Try to key up local repeater and hear courtesy beeps from 4 or 5 other stations. Tropo ducting and all of that. I remember once, it was crazy that day. There was there's a repeater on Rougemont Mountain, 146-700. And that repeater used to have some really cool stuff on it. They had like a radio conversation every Wednesday evening about subjects, and you'd learn about radio, radio gurus of the past that invented stuff, and it was really, really nice. That repeater had some of the most active and the most knowledgeable hams in the region here. So that repeater is on the South Shore, maybe something like 30 miles from Montreal, but gives a really good signal. Actually, it's still on, but there's not a lot of activity today. With my Yaesu FT65, I can key it really easily. I actually had a conversation with a ham on it just to test it out a little bit. When I was doing my scanner craze moments, one of the things that happened was I think it was a Sunday afternoon in July in the 90s at some point. It was really hot, muggy, and people were keying the repeater from more than 100 miles away. There were people keying because people were talking, and sometimes somebody would key up and say, um, I'm Victor Echo 2, blah, blah, blah. And it would ask, where's this repeater located? And people would mention where it is. And then the guy would say where he is. And everybody was like completely amazed, completely amazed because they were so, so far away. And they were coming in like local. And it lasted all afternoon and all evening. In the evening on that repeater, they have a net, and people were checking in from cities so far away that even the net control guy was completely amazed. And it lasted all of that Sunday afternoon, evening. And like late in the evening when the sun set, it started fading out, and then things came back to normal, and the regular contacts were heard on 2 meters. But that was so impressive. I still remember that moment, how impressive it was. So, if you like radio, you've got to be there when things happen, because it's easy to miss out on any special, you know, propagation feature. One of the things that I got over the years, I was lucky in a way, but not lucky, because when people would talk to me and say, "How can you hear that? How did you get that? How did Today we have online tools that you can check for that, but still, like in the '90s, I heard a lot of stuff that there were no tools. There were absolutely no tools. You just had to be there and hope for the best. Same thing for TVDX thing. So what would happen is I had a habit. My habit was to go up and check channel 6, the Super Bowl channel on channel 6, CB 27025. Is there activity there? If there is, I'd go on a 10-meter band. I'd check for FM repeaters on the 29 megahertz. And I would from there go and listen to higher frequencies. I'd look at the 30 to 54 megahertz range. I'd look for activity on 6-meter ham bands. I'd turn on my TV that I had for TVDXing, try to see if I get TV stations from far away. And so when people would ask me, it's like, well, I never get that stuff. My reply was always, because you have to be, if you don't listen often, you have to be lucky. You have to really be lucky that you turn on the radio and it's happening now. And you got to notice it too. Meaning, if you always do your same listening experience, if you always do your same routine of radio listening, there's a bad habit that can go in there. If your thing is just to turn on a radio, listen to the international broadcast bands to see what's on, and then turn it off because maybe, there's nothing exciting. Or even if you don't turn it off, but you'd like to hear some exciting stuff outside of that, well, you got to get outside of that. You got to get outside of your habit of always doing just the same thing. So I developed, and that came from, so I got into the scanner craze in the late 80s, like a lot of people. And there's quite a few things that happened at the same time there. There's the satellites. When did I actually understand? Once again, we're in the 80s. No internet, no nothing. You got magazines, and that's all. That's where you learn stuff. You got radio clubs, maybe. But you're on your own trying to understand and see what you're actually getting. I'm so, when I start a hobby, I'm so intense with it that it's like a daily thing. It's always on. It's always there. I'm always using it. When I got into scanner craze, my scanners were on all the time, all the time. And this made me also do other things. I was not just, creating a habit of listening just to analog cell phones, or just the ham bands, or just, the police, or it was like, yeah, it's like, I mean, listen to local police. It's not that interesting. You listen to local police, and after half an hour, you're like, well, okay, I'll do something else now. I would tune everywhere because I would want to have every possibility of what is in that band, and I never hear anything. And one day you just scan that band, and there's a signal there. When I scanned 137 megahertz and heard my first time, I heard like a ping, ping, ping sound. I was on 137 500, and I remember thinking, "What's that?" I have no idea what's that. There's no internet. I don't have any info of where could I get info of what's that. Um, Same thing happened, and that was the same day. 150.030. It sounded kind of like radio teletype. It lasted 5, 10, 15 minutes, and it fade out, and then it'd be gone. And I had noticed a pattern after a certain amount of time. I had noticed that it would repeat every roughly 90 minutes. And suddenly, so that was a mystery for a long time. I tuned there all the time to try to see what I could hear. I'd still try to figure out what could I have been listening to. And one day I had a monitoring times that had an article on how to monitor satellites in orbit. And now they talked about the 137 megahertz band, which was weather satellites, and the 150 megahertz band was Russian Cosmos navigation satellites. And suddenly my eyes were open that I was listening to satellites and was just so amazed. So to witness and get into all of this, well, you got to tune all the time, and you got to be intense in the hobby. And you got to shake off the habits that you can have, because sometimes you might fall into that habit of just doing that same old thing all the time. Well, doing that same old thing all the time might actually have you miss on exciting other communications that are somewhere else, that are in a band that you never tune. And then suddenly you notice that there's something new that puts you back into an exciting mode. And this is where, if you diversify your listening and frequency ranges, even if you never hear something on a band, don't stop scanning that band. One day you'll be rewarded with something. And when you are rewarded with something like that, it actually excites you again. It brings you back into the hobby. You might get bored of the hobby if you always stay in the same little listening pattern. And if you want to keep it, if you want to keep it alive, you got to try different things. And that is very important, very important. Like every hobby, you might make jigsaw puzzles, but maybe someday you should try a 3D puzzle, or change what you do in a different way. Um, that will keep you alive in the hobby. That will keep you interested in the hobby, because it's easy to get bored after several weeks, several months. Over the years that I've been doing a live show, I see the people come in and out. Some of you here since the beginning, still here today. Some of you new. Some of you left for a while back and are like, well, you know what? I haven't been listening for the last year, and I kind of want to do it again, And there are different things. For some, it's because life got in the way, and life does get in the way of a lot of that. But sometimes it's just, and I feel that for some that were here last year, that we don't see the names anymore. For some, it's simply God getting bored of what you were doing. And the more you diversify what you listen to, the more you try things, get out of international broadcast, try utilities, try decoding something on a computer a signal on a computer, or like a WeatherFax or Navtex or whatever. Um, Try to find those exotic things that maybe you'll never hear, even if it's a little peep coming out of nowhere. One of the things I like chasing, especially in the winter, because a lot of them are in low frequency, the Russian single letter channel markers. And if you try regularly, you'll hear some of them. They're not strong because they're not very powerful, but you'll hear some even in North America. That brings back your excitement to the hobby. That brings back, it's like the first time I was live. You guys remember, some of you do. We were live, and it was the first time ever I'd heard Iqaluit weather broadcast. And I was all surprised that I could hear it. And the excitement of radio comes back when you hear something totally new and you don't know what it is. I had that same excitement when the FM DXing came through. It was my first time hearing some really far away DXing, from Florida. So it's really, really something that you have to develop and try to tune around as much as possible, and try different frequencies and try different things, try different antennas. And that's how you're going to keep the excitement of the hobby. It's extremely important, because like in every hobby, you can get bored to a point where you don't want to even turn on the radio anymore. So that was my big speech of get your asses off the chair and turn the radio on. Okay. And Rio the Extra that does sound like a meteor scatter. Okay. It's possible. Totally possible. Yeah, it could have been an internet stream. Take care, Serge. Thank you for the tip, and thanks for being here. So it's totally possible, David. It could have been some Spanish radio station streamed and transmitted with the FM transmitter. Definitely. Francis, used the DC block on my PL880 to use an external antenna, and it works perfectly. That is weird. That is weird that you need to have that to actually have it working. Christopher, good evening, Shortwave channel. Greetings from North Wales. Please, can you do a review of the new Deep SDR 101 SDR portable receiver? Yeah, I saw that somewhere. I was looking at it the other day. Looks like a cheap version of a Chinese Malahit SDR thing. I'm going to check it out. Bert just emailed you a snapshot of my updated shack with the geochron. Oh, that's cool. Let's check that out. Shack view. Here we go. Look at that, guys. That is beautiful. Wow. Love that geochron. This is so cool. So here's the shack, guys, from our friend. Pretty cool. And there's a really handsome guy on that screen. A curved screen. I like that. How do you like using a curved screen? Well, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Let's go back to the chat here. Intel these days with digital TV, when an airplane passes, just lose the signal for a while. Yeah, and that's a different thing. I put rabbit ears. I put rabbit ears um, on the big screen TV that I have here, and I don't. I mean, I get some local stations, but I'm not that proud of HDTV in general because you always have to fiddle with the antenna for some channels because it might be great for a couple of channels positioned like this, but then you have to play with the antennas for another channel, and it's kind of at least when there was a little bit of a of static in an analog broadcast, it was still listenable, and you might play with the antenna, but you not lose the station at least. I don't know. Steven Ostrowski, I don't need another radio, but I want another. So how many radios is too much? Can there be too many? I don't think so. In my case, no. There will be more in the future. I think it all depends on the state of the hobby for each of us. Some people are in the I have one radio, it works well, that's all I need. I don't need another one. It's wasting money. And some people are in that philosophy of life, and it's fine. You might have just one radio, and it's okay if you got a good one too. And then you've got the guys like me that we're kind of radio fanatics. We just the more radios we have, if I go somewhere and there's a $20 radio on the shelf that I don't have, I can't resist. Here, take my money. Like in Futurama, shut up and take my money. So it's just depends on each of us, each one. If I had even more money available, I probably would have even more radios. You know, it's just crazy. Um, what else do we have? Chris G7VO. It's always not enough radios. There you go. Cali Wave. Listen to shortwave stations through the MLA antenna. Sony ICF 6700W. Cool. Mike Water. Does anyone out there know how to test a MOSFET? It has source drain and 2 gates. So let me go here. Go down, go down. There's a YouTube channel that I did go. That I'm not a radio nut. Yeah, Radio Nut is probably much better than Radio Fanatic. There's a YouTube channel. The guy, an electronic guy, I don't remember the name of the channel itself. He shows you how to test with a simple multimeter almost anything and any parts. He's really good. PLF radio can be an FM transmitter from C Crane. Here we have tons of these cheap FM transmitters like at Canadian Tires and different stores. Mario the Extra. When I heard personal FM transmitters fade out, it does not happen straight away like meteor scatter. It takes a bit longer. This one was very quick. It was like a quarter of a second fade in. Like, a quarter second mix, and then the station's there. It's in Spanish. It's strong. And a quarter second, boop, fade out by. And I would guess what you say. And not just that. Those are very low powered. The radio's in the kitchen. The cars pass in the front. I would also have expected maybe a in and out thing as the car moves. Not a steady signal from a car FM transmitter. I don't know. Kevin, there's some talk on the street that a Tesla Gigafactory may be coming to Montreal. Have you heard anything? Yeah, I've heard something. I've heard something about there's like all of these big companies are having something here. I know that Amazon is building two huge distribution centers. One in, I think, on the west, and it's on the west side of the city, and one on the north shore somewhere. It's like we've got tons of companies coming here for all sorts of things. One of the big things here that attracts, for example, that Tesla might be attracted to, the cheap and amazing quantity of cheap electricity that we have on the network here. Yeah, like you said, Matt. We got to take into account that even though the station WVPS on 179 is strong, it is still about 100 miles away, so the signal is not strong like a local station. So yeah, a FM transmitter can overpower it definitely. Gareth Brennan, nice to have you here from Dublin, Ireland. New to this shortwave world. Found an AM radio recently and been listening to some AM from Spain and UK. Cool. Welcome aboard. Jetcrafter, Shannon of Valmet, coming in clear 2039 on 13264 in Maine. Pretty cool. SV O'Rourke, nice to have you on board from Hawaii. Finally got a Saturday off. Thank you very much. Nice to have you here. Andy, nice to have you here. 2E0REE. Jason, V9JMC, they have the same agreements here in Canada as well between the FCC and ISCD. VT Radio 92.9 is a blowtorch. 99.9, the buzz is loud too. Yeah, these two come in really, really loud here. They're like local stations. Actually, I don't know what's the programming on the buzz today. For a long time, the buzz was very similar to Shum FM 97.7, which is our only rock radio station in Montreal. A lot of people were moving from Shum to 99.9 for another rock station, but that had a different style of rock playing. SV O'Rourke Ernishke had an hour of jazz this morning, 1700 on 11800. Nice to hear some jazz in mono. Cool. What else do we have? Keegan DXer, nice to have you here. Welcome aboard from Northwest Arkansas. Hey, Gabriel, nice to have you here from Uruguay. Hope you're having fun with your radios. Any Moo expedition soon? Mooney Man used to detect meteors here in the UK, tuning to German TV carrier signals on the Jupiter VT 7100. When a meteor ionized the atmosphere, you could hear it as a ping for several seconds. Yep. Actually, a lot of radars that were online, there was one in Roswell, New Mexico, actually used that same trick to focus on a TV, a faraway TV station to detect the incoming meteors. WPS is in Colchester, on Burlington, is a palace. It's amazing what you can do with donations, I guess. Ron's Archery. I know one thing, though, and you probably have heard of it because they talk about it, the change of Vermont Public to just, what was the thing? Because there's a public, you have PBS and you have public radio, and there's kind of a merger thing, and they're changing kind of the name. It seems to be a little bit of a controversy there in Vermont. It seems to be a little bit of controversy. Ron's Archery just erected 15 feet and 20 feet. Emily 30 plus antenna. And 100 feet random. It's already helping. Cool. Garage says, don't know if anyone can help explain this. I was able to receive an FM station from what I think is a transmitter 60 miles away. Is this too far for line of sight? If so, what would be propagation time? So, a strong FM station, okay, a strong FM station, and keep in mind that FM propagation um, are is most of the stations have antennas on top of mountains. So that line of sight gets a lot more distance on top of a very high building or atop of a mountain. So you could easily hear 100 miles away on a FM station, just line of sight. No special propagation conditions. Just a good station, a good antenna, very well placed. 100 miles would be possible. But you could hear stations even further away, and there are stations that will come in from time to time further away. There could be tropospheric ducting. Sometimes that happens when there's temperature inversion. So, say for example, and if you guys are fans of VHF propagation, this is one trick that you should look at all the time. Say it's really hot, and suddenly a cold front goes through, and the next day it's really cool. That cold front, the temperature change in it, and the temperature layers of our atmosphere often causes the tropoducting. And the signals get kind of trapped in the atmosphere. And that trap will bend that VHF frequency signal enough that you could be hearing 2 or 3 times further away. So you could be hearing something 200 miles away, like local, for a certain amount of time as that weather pattern goes through. It happens a lot if you live near a lake. Anybody that lives near a really big lake, like the Great Lakes here in Canada, or near the ocean, people in Europe that live near the Mediterranean, there's so much reporting of these stations coming from really far away because that cold water, the warm atmosphere, it creates all sorts of patterns of tropoducting that exist. And there's also other phenomena. You can have sporadic e-skip, which can bring you FM stations from other countries around Europe easily when it's happening. So tune around, and this is a lot of fun because you'll hear France and you'll hear, you can hear Switzerland or Germany or whatever, and it's just the e-skip effect that happens. This happens at specific times of the year, though, most of the time, but it can happen anytime. So there's all sorts of phenomena in there that can happen. Kevin, got 2 new FM stations pop up in the past 2 months. Now I can no longer hear 740 on medium wave Zoomer radio out of Canada. Getting ever noisier at my QTH. Wow. Maybe with the winter coming back, it's going to get better. Callian Wave. Week ago, I was listening to the AM band and loud sound like a tinker appeared along medium wave scale. It was very annoying. Only local stations that were able to listen lasted 3 days and then disappeared. Youch. That's some really, really strong interference there. David, here in EA3 land, I used French Graves radar 143050 to detect meteor scatter reflections. Well, that is cool. Oh, that must be fun. I need to try to find a couple of frequencies that have strong VHF signals from far away to detect meteor scatter and stuff. Chastang, nice to have you here from Louisville, Kentucky. Carl, nice to have you on board. And says, you never know what an opening will happen. Absolutely. VE3GUN. So just found my channel, subscribe. Well, welcome aboard. It's always fun to have new people around. Jason, V9JMC, back in 2001, I think. It was tropo happening. Started on a Friday and lasted through Monday. No drops. Worked Virginia. I remember some e-skip. In the 90s that was sometimes almost 24 hours and I tuned FM repeaters. Like I remember tuning 2966. There used to be a FM repeater, 10-meter FM repeater in the Virgin Islands, and everybody was working that. I wish today there would still be that one because I would love to work that. And the um, the the sporadic e-skip sometimes are days. It's like 3-4 days in a row that was constant, and you'd hear that repeater all the time, and then suddenly boop, would be gone, and wait a week or two, and then another sporadic e-skip would happen. Carlo, well, I don't agree with the best radio is a 750 ETH on satellite, but if you like it, that's all that counts. Keegan DXer got a Grundig S450 DLX, first ray FM radio DX. And FMDX since in June 1st, 2013. Skipwave was getting a Wisconsin AM radio station last night on DX about 3 a.m. for a few minutes. Cool. Mr. A, nice to have you here. Roberto Rojas, nice to have you on board. Chin Chin. Charles Williams, lately I've been recording the entire medium wave band with a RSPDX and going over it later. Cool. That's a lot of fun because you could see the different patterns with the time at night and sometimes stations that might jump in that you never heard before. It's a lot of fun to do. Richard, nice to have you here. WA2157 SWL, Albany, New York. Purchase an RSP1A, but with my schedule, still not able to devote the time. I want to install it, but very soon. Cool. Bob, nice to have you here. WPC1DX, NE1I. New Hampshire, nice to have you here. Sandman X, forgot that I used to DX TV in the late 80s. I didn't know what tropospheric ducting was at the time, but I noticed I could pull in stations from hundreds of miles away randomly in the summer. Yep, and there was sporadic e-skip that kicked in there also. I remember watching Jeopardy play on a station in Dothan, Alabama on Channel 4 here in Montreal one evening. And took me more than 2 hours before I could ID what I was listening to. Because every time we would get to the top of the hour with the station IDs and shows the call sign, the call letters, it just fade out. And I was like, so mad. I was like, wow, I just got 5 minutes of really clear picture, but it fades out. It fades out for 30 seconds exactly at the time of the ID. I don't know. Murphy's Law, I guess. But lots of fun. Keegan DXer in early to late 2000s, my local Channel 5 KFSM for Smith, Arkansas, would be overridden by KOCO, Oklahoma City. Wow. Artist like Crafter's Kitchen, AM or FM DXing are nice complementary hobbies to shortwave, as is utility DX. Yep. Listening to pirates, stuff like that. Absolutely. Mr. Squirrel in Utica, New York. Nice to have you here. Jason, for me, being here all depends on whether or not I'm at transmitter site working. Robert Osborne, what do you guys use for solar radio flux reports? I just turn on the radio. I go to spaceweather.com. I showed you guys the app that I have, which is an app that is pretty cool, which is the famous Space Weather app, which is nice. So you get the K-index information and all of that. You get the auroral oval, and you've got even solar activity information, the sun with the sunspots, solar flares, all the details. This is on Android, and I think somebody told me that it's also on iOS. So Space Weather app is kind of nice on the phone and tablet. Spaceweather.com is a great website for information. There's a lot of sites, that actually have information. But you know what? Do listen to the radio. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, um, you know what? Turn on the radio and tune around. Because even in times of, it's a mistake to think that because we're in a geomagnetic storm that conditions are crappy. They might be crappy for certain signals, absolutely, but sometimes they enhance signals that we barely hear, and you could have a very surprise DX evening. So, still continue to tune around everywhere. Tuning is a way more interesting way of knowing what is out there, whatever the conditions are. Matt has to get his ass in the chair when he wants to DX. So I'm wet. I'm 20 minutes behind, guys. Okay, Matt Reader DXer. I think those that left the radio hobby found it too frustrating, as it demands a lot of patience to make the catches you want. It's like every hobby. I think every hobby, patience is the number one thing that you need to keep that hobby and to stay in a hobby, whatever it is, whatever it's radio or not. And the frustration also can come from today's noise levels. Is probably the number one killer of our hobby. I would probably have to, um, if we turn off the noise, I think we'd keep more people into it because they'd hear a lot more. Just go to a park, go somewhere it's quiet, and you know, I had a little moment this week where I was waiting for something, and I had the Conicom GP5 in my pocket, and I did an ETM scan, and I suddenly was listening to Radio France International on 17850 with a really great signal. And by the time I got here and tried it, here it's there, but it was in the noise. So it's pretty crazy. Carl had a mobile contact on 6-meter FM, 5 watts, and a station in Texas from Burlington, Ontario. Opening happens, definitely. Danny, nice to have you here from the Netherlands, PE1 PDS. Christopher, you'll be surprised. It's far from cheap. It's really well made in a large case. Okay, I'm gonna check it out. Check it out. Mr. Squirrel, how do you get alerts when your show's coming on? Usually there's a little bell in YouTube that you can click that should alert you when you're in the browser. But just remember the times. Just remember that it's always Wednesday at 0 hours UTC, 8 p.m. Eastern, and Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 20 hours UTC. Tony, greetings, radio friends from South Coast of Ireland. Here's another 4 years of shortwave listening. Did you get a chance to try out your QRM limiter? I mean, you know what? It's there. I see it every single day. I'm like, man, I really need to put this thing on. I really, really need to take the time to do it. You know what? Maybe I should focus on that when I have time this week. Fast load. Nice to have you here. Doug Smith, as a kid, discovered EMDXing in the mid 80s, turning my dad's big, heavy analog Pioneer AM FM stereo tuner and had a huge AM loop antenna on the back. Got stations from Mexico to Canada. And in the 70s and 80s, those big stereo tuners, they were just very cool looking in general also. Fast low from camping site with shitty internet. Catalan and Crystal Radio. Yes. Fred Waterer, salutations. Nice to have you here, my friend. What else do we have? Bob Raymond, the new thing that excited me the most was decoding an EME signal off the moon as WPC1DX, shortwave call, and then working RA6DA on 2 meters via the moon as anyone I using a single Yagi and 300 watts. Wow, that is cool. Nice firewall. It looks more like the wall's on fire on this one. Davis Radio Room says I got channel 2 from Miami from upstate New York, channel 4 from Texas, and channel 3 from Philadelphia. Robert Cross always uses multimeter when I'm testing components when I'm repairing radios. Mr. Squirrel, do you have to explain meteor scatter to newbies? I know what it is, but many of the youngsters do not. What do you all think? Carlo, thank you. Chin Chin, my friend. Yeah, it's simple. So there's a lot of different ways that propagation happens, and one of the ways is meteor scatter. So we all just do this. So there's a way that first of all, shortwave signals propagate through the ionosphere. Then we have higher frequencies like VHF range that might propagate depending on different conditions, sporadic E-skip, stuff like that. One of them is meteor scatter. So meteor scatter is when a small, rock hits the atmosphere and burns up in the atmosphere, which we call a meteor. What happens is that intense heat, all the energy that's in there, will ionize a small patch of the ionosphere. And if it's big enough, it might actually ionize it strong enough that signals of much higher frequency can actually bounce off. But it doesn't last a very long time. Meteor scatter lasts anywhere from a second or two to, maybe 10, 15 seconds at the most with the biggest ones. And that's why a lot of people actually, there's quite a few radio geeks that will wait for strong meteor showers, like the Perseids, stuff like that, and will try to listen during those periods because there's more meteors than average, so more chances of hearing some of these stations. But it's very brief. Meteor scatter doesn't last very long. Is there a way to improve long wave, medium wave reception of the XH data D808 without using the MLA30? What you could do, if you have an outdoor wire, because on the D808, that medium wave, long wave enhancement will only happen through induction, because there's no direct tap to the improvement to the antennas. So what you could do is, use, if you have an external wire antenna, for example, wrap a lot of, make several turns of that antenna on the radio's body itself. The induction could maybe be enough to really improve the reception. but it's very limited. In a radio that doesn't have a direct tap to the antenna and that you have only internal ferrite, there's not a lot you can do except little tricks like that can, by induction, increase the amount of signal coming into the radio. So, take care, Mr. Squirrel. Roswell is just a military base, Catalan. That's all. No problem, Gary. Gabriel, no cows on the horizon, probably next January. Meanwhile, I'm looking to have the no muting Texan 680. Yeah, that's going to be a difference, especially if you like tuning along with the tuning knob. It's going to make a huge difference, that's for sure. Christopher, does anybody have problems using headphones with SDR++ on Windows 11? Cannot find anything to adjust in the menus. Huh. WF79 Homebrew, doing some shag organizing, found my receipt for the pre-order of the Eton Elite satellite, date June 29th, 2019. 3 years ago. It's even worse. They even had 3 years to fix that thing. Crazy. Video radio just worked NU5DE. 20 meters FT4. Nudist colony. Okay. Are they operating nude? That's kind of an interesting one. Well, I guess, any group. And the call does say it all. NU5DE. Nude. What else do we have? Let's just go down here. Sandman X, at least this stream is getting me to fix the whip antenna on my PL330. It ripped off the circuit board in a fall about 2 years ago. I'll finally be able to shortwave listen with it again. Tanya Parker, exciting on the first live and listening about to get off ferry. Technician testing today is today. Cool. Bodeman, how would I record my shortwave radio via line-in? A couple of choices. You could do it with, it depends on the radio you have, first of all, because your radio needs a line out. If it doesn't, then you can record it through the earphone jack. Just got to be careful with the level of the volume. Through the line in of the PC with Audacity, with a standard little audio cable. You could also purchase one of those very inexpensive digital audio recorders and record out of that too. RGA Dakota, when I was much younger, I was living with my parents in North St. Louis County. My local Channel 2 on TV was regularly overwhelmed by stations from Arizona. Caused my parents to consider cable. I would guess, especially when it's always, it's always interfering. Yeah, Keegan the Exter. Yeah, it's, I don't remember which one it was, but man, I heard that. I saw that station in Alabama a couple of times during that same summer. I had it was something like a 17-inch black and white TV. My parents had that like on a corner doing nothing. And I thought, well, you know what? If it's doing nothing and they don't care about it anymore, might as well use it. And I remember plugging in a Friday night and thinking, I'm going to see what's on, I'm going to do each channel one by one, see if I can get stations. And it started like that at first. And started checking out the different stations from, that I could watch on the TV. So, there was that station I could get WCAX Burlington, Channel 3. I could get WPTZ Plattsburgh, their Channel 5. I could get a station in Cornwall, Ontario on Channel 8. I'd get Sherbrooke on Channel 7. I would get Sherbrooke on Channel 9. I would get I would get Channel 22 Burlington, Channel 33, the PBS station, Channel 57. Those were the stations far away that I would, be able to get a decent picture and audio for watching. And one night in the summer, I have no idea that TVDXing is a thing, by the way, at that time. And I turn it on. I get on Channel 4, and there's a clear picture of something. And I know of one Channel 4, which I've never seen, which is the CBC in Quebec City. So I look at it, and it's in English. It's Jeopardy, and I'm just scratching my head of, is there a new station around? But it fades in and out like a shortwave signal. So I start to realize that maybe there's something to it about propagation here. And I watched all evening until I got the ID, and they had that nice big picture up at the top of the hour at one point, and it said, I don't remember the call letters, but the call letters were there, and it said Dothan, Alabama, and I was like, wow, Alabama, I'm getting Alabama. I was all excited. It's pretty crazy. Carl, maybe I'll catch you on 6 or 2 meters SSB weak signal sometimes. Yeah, you never know. Uncle Justin, KB2RMC in Rochester, New York. Nice to have you here. Take care, VT Radio. Nice to have you here, Paul. As usual. What else do we have? David P. Miller, I think the number one hobby destroyer is the lack of content to listen to. So many stations leave the air. So many others that are gospel, noisy or not, we can't listen if nothing's there. But the problem is, David, there's tons of things there. And that's why the noise is important, because there is tons of content. I can tell you in a day, I listen to tons of shortwave broadcasts with content. And it's even better if I go to the park, I'll have 10 times more content. So content is there, because there are still a lot of shortwave stations you can listen to in English. I listen to BBC. I listen to Voice of America, Romania, Turkey. Of course, there's the relays like Radio Prague, and WRMI has a lot of choice of broadcasts. There's a lot more. And even though it's not like in the 80s, I don't agree there's no content. I agree there's a lot of noise that prevents you from hearing the content that is there on your radio, but is just washed out. That is a much bigger problem. Content is still there. Julio, nice to have you on board from Chile. NDK2, wonder if we get to some holiday pirate stations on 43 meters this weekend. I don't remember Labor Day being a particularly busy in the past. Yeah, usually, like there's always a little peak of activity on each holiday. Labor Day weekend is maybe not the busiest of all. It's not. It doesn't compare to maybe like Easter or Halloween or Christmas, stuff like that. But still, you know, it'd be interesting to check out for sure. Just checking out now out of curiosity on the HF Underground site here. What's, if anything, is reported right now? So right now, nothing seems to be there for now. Still early. I mean, 21 UT, but we're getting there. We're getting there. And like RGA Dakota, there's a lot of pirate radio stuff, for sure. Yeah, man, that's a good question. If anybody looked at the meteor scattered back in that day, it must have been something interesting for sure. No, I never dabbled with DMR yet. I need to check that out. Yep, there are ways to build your own long wave, medium wave loop. Absolutely. Like David says. George, nice to have you on board from Mexico. Yeah, the problem is because he wants to improve the long wave, and that loop doesn't work with long wave. It's like the AN 200, and the other one, the AN 48, is a crappy piece of antenna. Solitary radio listener, nice to have you on board from Southern Illinois. Sandman X FM band so crowded near Houston, Texas. I've never tried DX on it. Yeah, well, you don't need a big gap, but you just need just enough and a good radio, because in a city like like here in Montreal, you have to have a radio that is capable of still giving you good reception on the in between channels, even if there's tons of channels, really powerful channels around it. Gabriel says about short listening during a Cold War. I remember that Radio Berlin International had a show called 15 Minutes with Uruguay, where some exiled talked about our dictatorship 7384. Oh, really? Wow. Thank you, Francis, for the tip. Nice to. What do we have? What do we have? Let me just go down. Activity. Yeah, nothing compares to Halloween for pirates. Yeah, July 4th, there's a lot of patriotic stuff. Memorial Day, yeah. Fred Water, if there were no content on shortwave, my spectrum monitor column would have to be balloon animals or something equally bizarre. No, there's tons of content on shortwave. But the problem is, like I said, noise is the biggest problem. And you don't realize it until you go for a couple of days to a place where there's no noise. You start tuning your radio around with, just a piece of wire, and you notice that now you have stuff to listen to. And it's much more than people think. You really, really have to move away from that noise. You have no idea how it is different. When anybody tells me, well, there's nothing about except religious broadcasters, you got too much noise, because I listen to a lot of stuff. And I can tell you, I don't listen to religious broadcasts at all. And I would not be doing this if there was nothing left. There's still a lot. And, I'll spend an evening listening to, like, my Saturday night tonight, what will be, going through, probably listening to maybe Chasing Pirates, but my Saturday night will be maybe a little Radio Romania, maybe checking out some of the broadcasts on WRMI relays that are nice on Saturday evening. There's Texas Radio Shortwave with always an interesting show on Saturday night. There's some of you that listen to the KBC, the mighty KBC, that broadcasts on Saturday night. There's a couple of DX shows that play on Saturday evening also. I'll be listening to the DX block on WWCR. I'll be listening to at the 05, 0530. I'll be listening to the NHK broadcasts in Europe that I can hear easily here. I will be listening to the BBC 9915. I will be trying different other things, see what's out there. But I will have content tonight. I will have stuff I'll listen to. The relays of Radio Slovakia, Radio Prague, things like that to listen to. Depending on the day that you have in the week, you'll listen to the Mongolia, Voice of Mongolia relay. You'll have the RAE Argentina relay also of WRMI. You have tons of other types of shows, including music, like on WWTW. So, no, there is content. And there is Radio New Zealand, and there is, Voice of Turkey, Radio France, Voice of America, BBC. And there's, of course, things like, if you like Brazilian music, very often Radio Nacional Amazona Brazil, 11780 comes in well as great Brazilian music. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you can catch the Ecuadorian music show on 6050 from the last known frequency from Quito of HCJB, and Pirates and ham radio and utility and tons of things to do. Tons of things to do. What else do we have? Tony, the D808 rejects signal boosts using inductive loops or ferrite bars on Wave due to its internal layout, but you can use a tuned inductive ferrite for long wave. Antenna jack is only for shortwave and FM and airband. Yep. Key in the Xer. The Xer's Phil Smith received CBFT Montreal after local WBBM Chicago signed off Channel 2 on one night in 1988. Wow, that's cool. Take care, Carl. See you soon. Yeah, if you like Romanian music, it's got some great stuff there, too. Absolutely. As Fred says, there's a lot of stuff. John Hummel Newell, VA5JHN. What else do we have? Bo Weber, I'm a novice, but I usually find more than I can digest in one sitting. Joe Minton, I just passed my technician's test today. Time to start spending money on radios and equipment. Cool, congratulations. Yep, still tons of things on shortwave. It's just not like it was in the day. That's definitely not 1980. But I don't agree. There's no content. You would be surprised how that noise is washing out content. I would even say that I'm sure that anybody that says there's no content on shortwave is plagued with a noise level that just washes out everything that is listenable still, and that would give you a lot of content. Bands come alive when you're on when you go to a place where the noise is low. You can even look at our friend in Uruguay when he goes to his moody expeditions. All the stuff that he brings up is pretty amazing. And if I go to a park, I hear tons of stuff. If I go to a park where there's not a lot of noise, I still end up a little bit, it's not intense like the 80s, but I end up having to choose what am I going to listen to, because there's more than one broadcast that definitely interests me that I want to listen to on the shortwave bands when I do a scan. Log 2112, nice to have you here. Sandman X says when he had his G5 RV antenna up, he's getting all sorts of stations. Storm took it down. I've never put another antenna up. Yep. Well, when you move, you have to put an antenna up again. Thank you, Robert Cross, for the tip. Nice to have some tip here. So, Kevin, nice to have you here. I'm just getting back to shortwave listening, Texan PL330 in Southern Illinois. Was big back in the 80s. Would you recommend a external antenna? Well, it's start with a wire. It depends on your setup. It depends on the noise that you have. Start with a wire. If not, there's the MLA30 loop that could help if it's very noisy where you are. George, a lot of good content. Radio Romania, KBS World Radio, South Korea, Channel Radio International, many more. So, okay, guys, we'll take a little pause here to do one thing. I will do a little something with you guys here. I'm going to post I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to post the email address. Okay. And one lucky winner next week will be drawn. He's going to win this Paul the Cat official shortwave channel mug. So, shortwave radio love forever. Paul the Cat with the W6LVP loop in the background, any background fall display. So, this will be somebody's mug. What I ask of you guys is to simply send me one email that tells me what is your favorite radio that you use the most. All I ask for. Everybody that will actually have sent in that email, I will put your name in a box. Next Saturday, we're going to pick one of the names, and somebody will get this mug from the official shortwave channel with Mr. Paul the Cat on it. So it's a little dark, I know, but Mr. Paul is on this thing. So here we go. And of course on the back once again. So send your favorite radio that you use to official shortwave channel, official shortwave channel at gmail.com. You send it there, your favorite radio. I'm going to keep the emails. And we're going to wait. The email's wrong. Sorry, guys. I messed up the email. Sorry, guys. Don't use that email. I'm just gonna erase that message here. Delete. There we go. It's official shortwave radio at gmail.com. There we go. And thanks, Cool AM. I don't know why I messed up with channel. So official shortwave radio at gmail.com. Sorry, guys. You just give me your when somebody else knows your email better than you, it starts to get a problem. Uh, the So send your favorite radio there. I'll put all of your names next week. I'll mention everybody's favorite radio that they use all the time. If you want to add a little more out to it, like why you like it, no problem. And in the title, if you can, in the title, it'd be fun that you put cat mug contest. So yeah, any type of radio transceiver, everything's all right. Everything's fine. Doesn't have to be a receiver only. It could be your favorite transceiver. It's as long as it's a capable of receiving radio signals, even if it's a transceiver, it's all right. There's no rules of what type of radio. So I'll put your names in a box for next week, and next week a lucky winner will get a Paul the Cat mug. So that's the contest for this week. So thanks, Francis Moore, for the tip. And thanks so much, everybody that has sent a tip today. What do we have? Keegan the Xer uses his Ethan Grundig Edition Field BT with RDS on FM as his go-to radio for FM DXing since 2019. Cool. So send your answers, guys, and we'll have a lucky winner next week that can get a mug. Only 3 in existence, by the way. They could really, maybe someday they'll be worth millions. Who knows? Okay, got a few questions I want to answer here that I've seen through the week that we'll go through a little bit. One of them, MLA30 loop. Somebody was wondering what it is exactly. So the MLA30 loop that we talk about all the time is a antenna. It's a magnetic loop antenna that we call. It is amplified, so it requires power to actually amplify signals. Now, I'll answer another question while talking about the MLA30. So that it is and everybody understands what it is. Francis, I just put it in the chat. If you go a little bit up, you'll see it in the chat. Official shortwave radio at gmail.com. Just go just a little higher in the chat room, and you'll see the emails there. I'll put it again a little later too. So the MLA30 magnetic loops in general are antennas that have a property that makes them immune to certain types of noise. So the MLA30 in some conditions can actually make the reception of signals much better. Now, one of the questions I see often is either, well, that antenna is so noisy, it adds noise. Why my long wire is better than the MLA30? We've got to be careful with the perception of the MLA30. One example, if you plug it in, of course, your noise floor goes up. It's an amplified antenna, so any noise it picks up will, of course, also be amplified. The thing that you have to watch is not its higher noise, because it doesn't mean it's noisy. It's the signal to noise ratio that we talk about all the time. Signal to noise ratio is what we have to look at in an antenna. The noise floor might be higher, but if the signals you hear are stronger, much more strong, then the signal to noise ratio is better. That means you hear more stations. So it's not noisier, it's just that there's an improvement in the signal you hear from stations versus the amount of noise that you hear in the background. So we got to be careful with when I plug it in, it's so much noisier. It could be in some cases the power supply. That is possible also. Um, so that's very important here. The other thing about the MLA30 that you have to know, perception of noise. We all hear static on our radios. I think too many people have the impression that they live in a noise or noisy environment and just don't realize that no, you're actually in a very quiet place. And in reality, you would receive a lot more than anybody else. And then you just Robert Cross, make sure you have the right email. Official Shortwave Radio. Andre Cool AM Radio just posted it again. That email works. Make sure that you have it to copy it and paste it directly from Cool AM Radio's post. And thank you Andre for sharing it. So some people have lower noise than they actually think. And what happens is that the MLA30 is not, in reality, in a perfect world where everybody would be in low noise, we would not use an MLA30 because it's technically not that great when you compare it to a long wire. A long wire gets way more signals. So what happens is that if your noise floor isn't that high, of course the long wire beats the MLA30. I think a lot of people that purchased it that are disappointed have not realized that thing. That no, it's because your antenna actually does perform very well. Your noise floor is very low. And MLA30 does not improve anything there. Really, the most important thing to understand here is that the noise around you needs to be high for an MLA30 to work well. Because if you hear nothing on the bands, and one simple thing to do is look at all the radios they have signal indication. When you turn it on and telescopic on a frequency range where there's nothing, what does it indicate? Does it show you that there's a high signal? If you have a radio with an S meter, is the S meter really high when you're hearing no signal? Well, you got a lot of noise around you. Then an MLA30 might be good. But if your S meter noise is really low when you're on telescopic or even on that long wire, then you don't have that much noise. You actually are a lucky guy. And the MLA30 will not improve anything there. It might even seem less sensitive than a long wire, definitely. To give you guys an idea, when I had my sloper in the back, or even now when I use the end fed, I have the end fed for the transceiver here for my ham stuff. My end fed, which is technically a wire, gets more signal than the MLA30 that I have, but it also is washed out in the noise. So I hear a little bit of stuff, but my MLA30 hears more stations because it is immune to part of the noise that is around me. So the MLA30 is for an environment in high noise. It will help because it will remove some of it, not all of it. It is not a miracle antenna, and it is not. It is meant if you have no possibilities of an outdoor antenna at all. It will gladly, it will be much better than anything else you can do. But if you can put 100 feet of wire and listen to tons of stations, then the MLA30 will not be an antenna that you want to have necessarily. So, um, it's simple as that. So it is immune, Jason. A magnetic loop is not just you null the noise, it is immune to certain electrical properties of the noise around you. So, yes, it does lower the noise for some types of noise, not all of it. Some of it will still be there, but it has two ways of removing the noise, V9 JMC. One of it is its magnetic properties will prevent some of it from being able to get into the reception because of its magnetic properties and the way that it polarizes the signals. The other thing, like you said, is also the second way it will help in noise is to put it up and to turn it until you have the lowest noise possible. So it works in two ways. So magnetic loop really works in two ways. Um, Depending on the type of electrical noise you have around you, some of it will not get into the antenna because of its the component, the way that it actually receives a signal. But then there's the nulling part where you'll actually try to position it for the lowest noise possible. When you set up an MLA30, you put it up, and then with the radio on, you turn it to the lowest noise you get, and you just leave it like that. Never touch it again. The only time that the MLA30, that's the other question, is, well, it's directional. So do I need to have some way to, on shortwave, the directional pattern of the MLA30 is minimal. So that means it doesn't affect much whether you turn it or not. Where it will be much more directional on medium wave and stations that are local, stations that are not that far away from you. Now, that's where the directional pattern of the loop will be very important because it might have you null a station and get in another station. But on the shortwave bands, that is rather, um, it's not important. What you'll want to do is mostly position it, turn it for the lowest noise possible, and just leave it like that. Last thing, the power you give it, make sure that it's clean power. There could be cases that one, um, a power supply you're using, for example, might be so noisy that it will actually induce noise into the amplifier, and that is possible. You got to be careful with that. But it's really, really specific conditions that will make the MLA30 shine, and it's not for everybody. And like I said, if you live in a quiet environment, put up a wire antenna. You're gonna have better reception. Let me just go back here to the chat a little bit. So where was I? So official shortwave radio at gmail.com. Marvin Motz, nice to have you here from the Japan Islands. Could the shape of the MLA30 be a factor if it's not completely round? Nope, doesn't change. It can be, oval. It can be, it doesn't need to be perfect at all, at all. Yours is very weird though because the real MLA30 comes with a bias T with a micro SB connector. It doesn't have that weird box that has no that doesn't say anything on it. And it doesn't have wires sticking out like what you were showing. So that's kind of it's a kind of an MLA30, but it's different. It's not what I'm used to seeing. Like 2112 here. It's more static from those around me than my radios. Hey, Brian Penny, nice to have you here from Cape Cod. I got to write to you. I want to write to you about something, Brian. I'm going to send you a little message later today through Messenger. So the noise, TB Ostrowski, really the noise is to either with a radio with an S meter or even with your ears sometimes, or you can look at the indication, the signal. When you look at a radio, like here, I'm going to look at the. We're going to go at the radio here. Okay. If we look at, let's just take this out. When you look at the screen here, there are two numbers. If you have one of those radios, like the Texan receivers, a lot of them have that has a signal to noise ratio like this. The first number on the left will be the amount of signal that the radio receives. So if you tune it to a frequency range where there's nothing, look at that number. The higher the number it is on the left, the higher the noise floor of your environment around you. So you can check out for the noise. It can also be very helpful. You can actually bring it around. And if you have several places the antenna can go through, where you can position it, you can actually, with the radio, choose that location based on where it's the lowest noise possible. That's also going to help a lot. So make sure the MLA30 is not close to anything metal. It needs to have a certain distance from anything made of metal. You don't put it on a metal pole. And it should have a difference. Like I said, if the problem that you have is maybe you don't have that much noise, that's where that antenna is not going to shine, because you already probably have other possibilities of putting up something that's way better. Thomas Gitz, nice to have you on board. Master Players Radio and Television Plus Gaming, nice to have you back. Lost my spot here. Francis Moore, your broadcast helped me to get through a very difficult time in my life. Well, you know what? Sometimes part of all of this is the reason why it's fun to be together and talk about other stuff in life. So I'm glad to be here. The Wind, 1960. Nice to have you here. George, wow, thanks. I wanted to know that details about the MLA30. I think I'm sticking with my 9 meters long wire antenna. Fortunately, I live in the countryside and it's not that noisy as city. No, if your environment is quiet, an MLA30 is not going to improve over a wire. Your wire will be fine. It's really a question of noise. But if that wire is so noisy that you barely hear anything, then the MLA30 is going to show you that it's capable of getting stuff. And for those, because I see it all the time, there's a lot of people like, well, that MLA30 is way too cheap. You got to buy big, expensive loops. I got a W6LVP loop here that cost me a fortune, and I can tell you one thing. MLA30 is as good as the W6LVP loop. So I'm not going to, it's real world testing. I can tell you that. Juanma, LU5EJZ, nice to have you on board, my friend. Bob Raymond, take care, my friend. Have a good time, and thank you for the tip. RJ Dakota, today I'm 66 and watching the show over a new Vizio sound system and a new TV. Cool. Happy birthday. Well, I don't know how much you paid for it, TB Ostrowski, because the standard MLA30 is roughly, I don't know, something like $40. Anywhere from 40, 45 US dollars. I don't know how much you paid for yours. But when I looked at the picture, it struck me immediately that it's like, well, that's not exactly, not exactly. George, still doing some experiments because I'm reading the ARL antenna book. Cool. Biggest problem in MLA 30 is complete lack of instructions included, has created this whole ecosystem of crazy theories and false information online, and all and unnecessary mods. Yeah, I look at there's a lot of people that modified it in different ways, and honestly, some seem to work maybe. What the cool thing of ML and the MLA 30 is it's inexpensive. So it's the dream antenna for experimenters. Want to try a bigger loop, a smaller loop, a square loop, a rectangle, whatever. It's perfect for that. It's you can buy two, three of them and try different things, and that's kind of a fun part if you want of the MLA 30. Um, but definitely, I think this is also one of the things that happens very often. I get regularly an email or somebody say, I have the MLA 30. I have absolutely no idea how this thing how to set it up. And the lack of instructions also, you've got a micro USB port. Yeah, but how do I power that thing? I don't understand. Not everybody's is like me. You just get the stuff and you're like, okay, that plugs here, that plugs here, that plugs there. Okay, USB port for 5 volts. There you go. And not everybody's like that. And we say it often. I say it often too. Is we got to be careful. Even I got to be careful when I talk about something, because it's easy to say something that for me or for some of you is absolutely natural and we understand it all. But for some, it's like I'm scratching my head and it's like, what did he just say? And I don't get it. And we've got to be careful not to sometimes think everybody knows something. The worst comment you can put on my channel that will never go through is when somebody posts, really, you made a video to explain that basic thing? Yeah, I made a video to explain that basic thing because for some people it's extremely helpful. And when somebody has that type of comment, all I got to say is how idiot you are. Reminds me of some people in Finland that ranted against me as sometimes. So, there is a way to explain stuff. We're not all on the same level. So we just got to make sure that the content and the information we have here is understandable for everyone and that everybody can join us and enjoy the hobby together. It's very important to think about that. And that's what I try to do all the time. That's why I try to do all the time, to make as simple as possible anything that I'm going to talk about. One series I'm going to do this week is a series on the flaws of radios. I talked about it Wednesday. I'm going to take all the radios I like, and I'm going to actually tell you what's the worst flaw for me on that radio. Another one that I'm going to do, because there's a lot of explanation to do, I'll do quite a few on any radio that has a BFO. I'll probably be using the Ethan 750 because it's big and easy to see. Plus, it is a BFO-driven radio. And helping out, one of the big problems, and once again, we have to understand we're not at the same experience level. One of the biggest problems I see that I get all the time is, got a radio with a BFO, I'm unable to tune a single sideband signal. Totally impossible. I never capable of getting a clear voice. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And you know what? I think that is worth several hands-on. I am using it, showing you what I do. That will probably do help somebody say, that's what I'm missing. Look at what he's doing now. That's not how I do it. Now I get it. You sometimes needs to see something to understand it. It's not always easy to, oh, well, you just take the via, take that, tune the signal and play with the BFO. And, if it's an upper lower sideband, here's how it is and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no. You sit down, you put the radio on, you film it, you show it, you tell, everybody, you explain it the way you can, but you show it. And it's like, okay, that's how he does it. That's what I'm doing wrong. That is what I didn't understand. And I do want to do very extensive videos on using every model that I have, that I know you guys have. Texan PL990, H501, CNG and ATS 909X2, the CountyCom, the Texan PL368, the PL330, and so on. I want to do extensive videos showing you. I'll even do videos showing how to use and how I use, to the best of its ability, my Ethon 750, and even explain buttons. Go on a radio, start cheating around and say, what's that button? What does it do? In some cases, it does more than just what you think. One of the things that is immediately, I've never seen a radio build like that before. The Ethon 750, the RF gain has a click. It's an on-off switch as well as the RF gain. Why? Well, okay, when it's switched off, it's at its maximum RF gain. But then you switch it on and you start playing with the RF gain. It's like you're adding, that switch turns on the capability of you changing the RF gain level. It's funny that they did it like that. But, I'll as time permits, I try to make as much as I can, because I know you guys love it. And I know you guys also learn a lot from it. I don't know how many videos that I was using the radio in real life, and people are looking at it and are like, wow, I understand. And I understood 12 times more stuff from that video than I did understand from reading the manual, So I try to do my best. And if we want to make sure that everybody likes the hobby, we have to be at every level, and help everybody. Take care, Francis. Stay safe. Darren Rogers, nice to have you here. Seamus, nice to have you on boards. Oh yeah, escape from reality. Jason, laboratory testing doesn't hold a candle to real world usage. Absolutely. I was like what I was saying on Wednesday. Numbers cannot, can say whatever they want. It's easy to slap numbers on things. Performance is this and that, and 14 dBs over the, yeah, okay. So is that 14 dBs over this better than 6 dBs over that? And well, it's not that clear, because it could depend on another factor that is in line, which means that 14 dB could be crappier than the 6 dB. And you get to a point where numbers don't necessarily mean that much. It's better to just use it and compare it with all the other ones. And especially with all the radios that I have and all the experience I have, I easily hear and notice immediately all sorts of flaws in radios as I use them. King in the X, sir, says live shows and radio review videos have helped me too. Cool. We're here for that. Kamikaze 76, nice to have you here from West Michigan. Sheila from Belleville, Ontario. Nice to have you here. Joe Minton, is the ATS 25 DSP worth the money or just go to RTL SDR dongle? It's not the same thing. So an ATS 25 DSP is a cute little portable radio you bring with you everywhere that has a touch screen, and you can listen to shortwave and medium wave and FM. It's cute. It has its own little thing. You can't compare it to an RTL SDR V3 dongle, which plugs into a computer and is a full working software defined receiver with, a waterfall and everything. So it's two things. Do you want to have a portable, cute device that, for me is really a novelty? It's not a serious radio. I don't put the ATS 25 in the category of a must-have radio. It's a, unique little thing that's kind of cute, that is fun to play with. But if you want to have more, if you want to have SDR capabilities, an RTL SDR V3 is a very different beast, and it's much cheaper to have. And you plug it into, your computer, and you have a SDR, a really full working SDR that for the price isn't that bad. Richard, some countries do better on long wire than the MLA30, and others are best. It's not a question of countries. I think what you describe here is much more a question of maybe the frequency range that you're tuned to. Much more than countries, honestly. Hey, John McClure, nice to have you here. Yeah, everybody starts somewhere. Seamus, using a Texan H501. Mike Jam, you do a great job. I'm amazed at your wealth of radio knowledge. 40 years of being a radio nut. That's what happens when you dedicate your life to radio. And soon I will have my new book out, How to Marry Your Radio. That'd be an interesting book. I could see the cover. I'm inside a church with, a radio and me in a suit about to get married. That'd be kind of a funny one. The Win 1960, my MLA30 Plus is 12 feet, 12 inch or 12 feet off my single floor wood porch flat side, probably 12 inch, on a steel pole and base with a Comet DS150 discount, 12 inch above it, hooked to SDR Play DX, and works fine. Yeah, it's just that anything metal could change its properties. That's mostly the thing about it. DBSC, nice to have you here. KC1 PSK. Harold, nice to have you here from Oslo, Norway. LB1 NH. Gordon Series on my S2000, tuning the RF gain full clockwise gives it a little more gain than in auto mode. Yeah, it's possible that it might have a little more, because auto mode is not auto. I've when I shut it off, it's there's nothing automatic about it, or if it is, it doesn't show much. James Farley, nice to have you here from New Jersey. KD2GUZ. What else do we have? Yeah, I have to take the atmospherics into account on test antenna receivers and stuff. What else do we have here? Mickey Dalmage, nice to have you here. Good afternoon. 33 Celsius Siege, Shortwave Park. Nice signal in French from Radio Andorra Revival. 13730, 2227. Let's check that out. Actually here. 13730. Yeah, not bad at all. Pretty good there too. 13730 if you guys want to check it out. Very strong signal from Is it from the Austria relay? George, absolutely true. I'm a physics student and an engineer, and I'm still missing some details about radios and antennas. That's why I really like your videos and live shows. Yeah, cool AM radio. Some receivers have secret hidden menus and all sorts of adjustments. TB Ostrowski, your wedding reception would be awesome. I would invite only people that have the lowest noise possible. Jay Gilbert, nice to have you here from Melbourne. And now we have a visitor. The visitor is here. Mr. Paul is in the house. Hello, Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul. Of course, that is my my hoodie that I always put on the floor because I want to sleep on it all the time. So Mr. Paul was in the house. Gordon Series falling in love again. Yep, it's music right now, 13730. 6932 upper sideband anywhere. 6.932. Oops. I have a signal. I do have a slight signal here on 6932. Definitely something there. Definitely a signal. Hey Greg, nice to have you here. King and the Xer has an orange cat similar to him. For a series. Says barely getting 13730 Northern Illinois. That says his daughter says hi to Paul. Let me see here. Waltzing Matilda. Do I have Waltzing Matilda? It's not very strong for me here. There's a very strong signal, though, on 6925. $6925. A very strong one here. This is what it sounds like. So that one is pretty strong, actually. Peaks at S9 plus 20, even more. This is only a test with tones now. 6925 AM mode. Interesting pirate there. Yeah, Close Encounters. So everybody's saying hello to Paul that just left. James Farley, yeah, I got to make sure that I test that antenna phaser. Absolutely. Seems to have stopped. There's nothing now. No, it's going to be there again. Matt says, had a ginger kitty once. He was probably the one cat I had. If you're a longtime owner, you know what I mean. I've got a black male and brown tabby female who we have to keep separated now. So, Tom Tom. King in the X-ray as Tom Tom. So, cool. So, before I go, because I am going to take it easy for tonight, I'll once again repeat. You want to have this Paul the Cat mug with that says on the bottom official Shortwave channel YouTube. So this is the mug. Even though Paul is a little on the dark side on it, he's still there. And of course, Shortwave Radio love forever. You can just send me an email with your favorite radio that you use. And even if you're not watching live, you can send me that email through the week. And you can send it to officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. Officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com with your favorite radio. Try to put in the title Paul or Cat Mug Contest. And next week, I will draw the name of a lucky winner that will be receiving this mug by mail. So if you want to have a chance to win, just send me a little email, your favorite radio, and next week we're gonna have the draw to a lucky winner of this special mug with Paul the Cat. So, hey guys, I'm going to say goodbye for today. I'm going to go and I have no idea what I'm going to eat for supper, so I'm going to check it out. And then I'm going to enjoy some radio listening. And so I'll be on the Facebook group for the rest of the evening and sharing what I'm listening to. And I hope that everybody is going to enjoy. There's another signal here on 6920. Let me just check it out here. $69.20. So there's a pirate on 6920 upper sideband also, by the way, guys. So thanks for being here, guys. Thanks to everybody that gave me a tip for the show today. It's much appreciated, and hope that you will enjoy. So we'll be back, of course, on Wednesday. And big week ahead for me since my friend of mine is going to be operated on Tuesday. And so hope that everybody enjoyed the show today, and that we'll be back Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's Thursday, 0 hours UTC for the rest of the world. And next Saturday, of course, as usual, at 4 p.m. Eastern, 20 hours Universal Time. Take care, my friends. Stay safe. Love you all.